So I'm Chirag Agarwal, and from today we're gonna be learning iOS the fun way. So today's day one, session one, and we're gonna start with our very famous OOPS concept. So I have a couple of slides that I will go over. So first, the goals installation of VM. So first thing, make sure that for learning iOS, you really need a Macintosh Xcode installed, and then you need an iPhone to deploy your apps on. So you need to have this application Xcode inside your Mac, and then this Xcode comes with a Mac iOS SDK already installed in it, and you just need to like learn how to use it, and that I would be teaching you. Okay, so so we need a Mac, we need a Xcode. So you probably know how to use Mac till now. I hope so. So this is our dock. This is the desktop. This is the spotlight where you can see all the applications, and this is the left page as you already know. Okay. So iOS. So iOS stands for iPhone operating system, as we all know, and so we're gonna be going over the basic keywords for today. iOS has to be made using iOS SDK. SDK stands for Software Development Kit, which comes pre-installed with the Xcode, and we're going to be using the language Objective C only, and Xcode would be the IDE. IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Okay, so we're going to be making apps for iOS only. We're not going to be making apps for Android. It's boring. So history: iOS is the name of the Apple's platform for mobile applications. iPhone was released in the summer of 2007, and the market started in 2008. So people who will probably say that they have 10 years of experience in mobile app development, so they are probably lying, because the market started in '08. So they cannot have like 10 years experience for sure. So the apps would be made for iPhone, iPods as well as iPads, and then we would be also using Apple TV to run our applications on the Apple TVs as well. So we're gonna be making apps for the current iOS version, that is in 9.2, the latest one. So if you do not have a Xcode, just go to the App Store, hit Xcode, and simply install it. It's way too easy. We're gonna be using the tools Xcode. We're gonna be using Xcode for sure. Then in the Xcode we have a very GUI based application known as Storyboard. You just have to drag and drop the components, and that is it. You have your application up there. And then you have an iPhone simulator. So if you're lazy, you don't want to deploy application onto your mobile phone, you can just simply use the iPhone simulator, and this will help you to see the actual working of the application. And we're going to be using instruments. So instrument is to like check the memory leakage and stuff. This will be advanced. We're going to be learning it in the fourth week or something. But for right now, we're going to be learning how to use Xcode, simulator, and storyboard. Woohoo! I'm excited. I hope you are too. So iOS architecture. So iOS architecture is made of four main layers. The bottommost layer is the file system or the certificates, you can think, because if you have used Macintosh, you know that you already have keychain, and you know that there are so many certificates that have to be, so that go through and stuff. So the one layer above of it is known as core services. So this layer is the collections, the SQLite networking. This is the main database layer that you can think of. So the layer above it is the media layer. So this layer stands above the database layer, because the data lies in the database layer, the second layer. The third layer is the media layer, which is fetching the information from the second layer, and then giving the information on the to the third layer. The fourth, the final layer, is the Cocoa Touch. So this layer has the UI kit, which has all the buttons, labels. That means this layer contains everything that you see on the application, like the buttons, to labels, the radio buttons, the check boxes, different colors, background, everything. This is the architecture. So as I told you, so this is the bottommost layer which has the certificates. This is the database layer. This is the media layer, and this is the application layer. Okay, so we're gonna be learning about storyboard a lot. So what is storyboard? Storyboard is just a user interface to add buttons, all the UI objects to your application, like buttons, labels, radio buttons, text view, text field, all these things. So storyboard is super easy, super fun to use, and we're gonna be doing it together. So be excited. So a few terms that we're gonna be doing: object oriented programming, Objective C. So Objective C is super object oriented programming. What do you mean by object oriented? So if I say object oriented, so object oriented has four main pillars to it. So we use object oriented languages because it is code reusability, code modularity, faster to develop, and easy to understand. The Now we're gonna talk about the advantages of object oriented. What is code reusability? Code reusability means that once you have written the code, then inside your same program you can reuse the code again and again with really small statements. This is the meaning of code reusability, and object oriented really insists you to use code reusability. You can reuse the code. This is the main advantage of object oriented programming. Code modularity. Code modularity means the breaking the code into small modules, into small parts. With the object oriented programming, you will see that your code can be really be distributed into small parts, and this is the main advantage of code object oriented programming. It is faster to develop because think like this, that so your one main story is divided into several episodes or several parts, so it's easy to understand and easy to organize. uh, so the object oriented programming always consists of three main things: library of objects, development tools. So in this case it is Xcode, and the object oriented language, which is in this case is the Objective C we would be using. Now let's talk about Objective C. Why is Objective C object oriented? First thing, because objective the main framework we would be using in our iOS would be Cocoa Touch framework, which can be only used with the OOPS concept. And the second thing is, like, C language can also be accommodated. So the Objective C is nothing but a superset of C that uses the libraries of C, as well as Cocoa Touch framework to make iOS applications. Object. Now we come into the concept of object. What is an object? Object is just a state which contains data and the behavior, operations on data. Objects can interact with each other. Like, suppose I take an example of a car. So the object would be the main car, like, but the class. So a class would be the like the blueprint of the car. Like, suppose a designer is like making the sketch of a car. How is the car gonna be? So that sketch is gonna be a class, and the object coming out of it, like the car itself, because the car, there are so many cars, so many models of it. That's an object. But the blueprint, so the main sketch behind all these cars, is the class. This is the main difference between a class and an object. So a class is just a collection of methods, whereas an object contains the data as well as operations on the data. Okay, this is a very important concept for your object oriented programming. Surely understand difference between object and class. And in our Objective C, we're going to be calling an object as an instance. So object is just an instance. That is it. No difference. Encapsulation. One of the four main pillars of object oriented. Encapsulation. What is encapsulation? Encapsulation is just making the data private. Like, think about your applications or Facebook. So you can't see the database, right? Like, you can only You can only see you yourself, your friends and stuff, right? You can't see someone else's password or someone else's friends who is not in your mutual friends. Why? Because the data is kept private. This is the concept of encapsulation. Like, think like this, like in a car, the spark plug is private, right? Because you're not giving the access of a spark plug. Only the mechanics or the person who deals with car has the access to spark plugs, whereas the steering wheel is made public, because anyone can have the access to the steering wheel. Polymorphism. So this is the second pillar of the object oriented polymorphism. What is polymorphism? It is just calling methods on different data. Like, so the best example would be printf. You can print anything and everything in C. In our Objective C also we use nslogs, like to print all the objects. It's just basically calling different methods on different objects. So this polymorphism can be gained by two methods: overloading and overriding. Overloading is known as calling functions with different methods, and then overriding is known as calling methods with different return values. So in our Objective C, we won't be having overriding. We would be only be having sorry, I said the other way around. We won't be having overloading, but we would be only be having overriding. Overriding is like calling a method with different return value. So like, suppose if you have like a int return function, so you can customize it the way you want, or you can have like a different return value. This is the main difference between overriding and overloading. So in our Objective C, why don't we have overloading? Because our Objective C is based on message passing, and suppose if you have overloading, so then it's gonna be confused, because the method names are gonna be changed. So we can't have overloading. We can only have overriding. This is the third main pillar of the OOPS concept, the inheritance. What is inheritance? Like, think about yourself, your father, your grandfather. So your father has some properties of your grandfather, you have some properties of your father. This is the concept of inheritance. So we use the same concept in our classes. So if you make a class that has a bunch of properties, and then you make another subclass which inherit this parent class. So this new class will have can use the methods of this parent class, and on top of that it can have their own methods, or 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 it can also modify the already existing methods in the parent class. This is the concept of inheritance, and we won't be having multiple inheritance in Objective C. We can only have one inheritance. So one class can only have one parent class, but we can have multiple inheritance, multiple level inheritance. What is this? So you have properties of your father has the properties of his father has properties of his father. So we have like a full chain. So in our Objective C you can have multi-level inheritance, but you cannot have multiple inheritance in Objective C. Superclass and subclass. So the superclass is the parent class, and the child class is the subclass. So in Objective C we use superclass and subclass. We don't use parent class and child class. Okay, memory allocation. So in our Objective C we're gonna be having dynamic memory allocation. What is this? So memory is given at the runtime. That is it. This is the reason like why your applications are loaded so fast and everything, because the applications are given memory onto the runtime. Applications are not given memory in the compile time like other languages. Interface. So we're gonna be using interface and implementation. Okay, how to make your first application using Xcode. So just open your Xcode as I just showed you, and then create a new Xcode project. And in this one, under iOS, select application and select single view application, and under the product name just write my first app. Okay, and just unselect all of it and hit next. And desktop would be the best place to save your application. So so this is the interface of Xcode. As you can see my screen, this is my view controller. This is where my code will go. This is the app delegate file. So for right now, like don't really test the app delegate files. So this app delegate files are like the basic settings that we're gonna be dealing later on. And then this is our storyboard. So this like storyboard is the GUI representations where you can go and add buttons and everything. Uh, so as you can see, this is my storyboard. So let's decrease the size. So select this yellow thing. Come to the inspector, and under size select the 4-inch i4 4-inch. So this is my storyboard, as you can see, and over here you can see all the buttons like label, button, text field, a switch. So you can just simply drag and drop all these buttons. And over here I have all the properties linked to my view controller. So this is a view controller, what you can see over here. And with this view controller, we have the view controller files linked to it, view controller.h and .m. So view controller.h will have all my method names, and view controller.m will have all my implementations of the methods or the functions, you can say. But in our Objective C, we're going to be calling it as methods. So let's make our first application. Um, so let's hit the storyboard. Okay, my computer is a bit slow now. It's Mac 2011, so probably it's taking more time. So hit the main.storyboard and come to the buttons. So drag and drop two buttons over here, and in this one say hello, and in this one say bye. And this one, like, choose different colors. Let's make it a color of, so just like hit in this white area so that you can see the properties of this white area, the background, the view. And in this one select a color. I want to be red, and then select these buttons. So these buttons can be of different color, and hit shift so that you can select both buttons. So selected both buttons, so that I want to change the color. So I want to change the color to purple, or I can change the color to white. Okay, yeah, let's make it white. So these are our two buttons. Right now we are not adding any functionality, we are just playing with a storyboard. Okay, and in this one you can select what iPhones you want. Like suppose if you want more, so these are just the demos of different devices that you can have. Or I can suppose if I want like a iPhone 4s, so you can just hit add and then say add simulator. And in this one you can select what phones you want, like if you want the iPad Air, or if you want iPhone 6s, iPhone 6, and anything. So you can just say like what device you want, give it a name, what version you want, and just hit create. And this will create the simulator. So I already have the iPhone 6s. Always like run your application for iPhone 5 because they are much faster, and hit run. So it's compiling. It's gonna take a while, but still it's gonna be effective. So see, this is the simulator. So this simulator is just like a replica of a phone, of an actual phone that you can think of. So your application will like more probably like respond just like your iPhone, most probably. This was the main idea behind the simulator. So see, now our two buttons will be attached to the phone. See, so now we have the phone, we have the iPhone, and our two buttons are attached to the iPhone, are attached to the real controllers. That's how it is done. Okay, guys. So you have made your first application with two buttons on it. Right now, we don't have any functionality because the goal for today was only this one. And then you can also just add more and more buttons like a text field, uh, a text view. So there are a lot of stuff. Then keep on adding it and just hit play. It will make the application for you. And so okay, so let's learn how to make the application for the uh, for the iPhone. So just like connect your iPhone simply through USB. So the normal way we do. So what will happen? You will see your iPhone in this option, Chirag Agarwal's iPhone 2. So just select this and then hit play. So as soon as you play, you will see like once it is done loading. So then you will be able to see the application being running on your iPhone itself. Don't do anything. It will just open it for you. Wait for it. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So it's working for my iPhone. I hope it's working for also for your iPhone. Let me know. This is all for session one today. So let me know if you have more problems. Just comment and then subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks a lot. See you next time.